Chag Sameach to the community of Hollywood, Florida, those who know me and those who don't know me. Let me introduce myself. My name is Tzvi Goldwag. I've been giving tours for years. Many of you I met personally on my tours. Some of you also met recently on Zoom. And now I have a special video for you about the miracle of Yom HaAtzmaut. Welcome to my house in the city of David. Before we start, let me show you around. So this is our living room. We actually live in a historical house called the Beit HaMiyuchas. It was built about 140 years ago. But what's important here, it's not the house itself, but the location. Now, let's go up there and I want to show you what we can see. So standing here, you can actually see our house. This is the Beit HaMiyuchas. And take a look right across. What do we have here? This is the most important place for the Jewish nation. This is Har HaBayit. Temple Mount is right there. That is the southern wall of the Temple Mount, based on 2,000 years old. And on the other side, we see Har HaZeitim, Mount of Olives. Mount of Olives is a burial site for many years. And Bezrat Hashem, this is where Mashiach will come very soon. And living in Ir David is really like living in a miracle. Speaking of miracles, I want to go back to 1948, the Declaration of Independence. I want to talk about the big events, but I also want to emphasize on the people and the events that are not so known to the public. Now, to understand that, let's leave Jerusalem and let's go down to the coast to Tel Aviv, where the Declaration of Independence of Israel took place. And here we are in Tel Aviv. This is Rothschild Boulevard. And the statue here is the statue of the first mayor of Tel Aviv, Meir Dizengoff. You can see his picture here. Nice, handsome guy. And this is his wife, Tzina. And the reason why the statue is here, because just across, this house was their private residence. The reason why his house was picked is because it has 2 floors. So the upper floor will be a protection because they were afraid that right after the declaration, maybe even before, the Egyptian Air Force will bomb Tel Aviv. So this will be relatively safe. Now let's walk into the building. And this is where it happened. But to understand this, let's go first back to 1947. November 1947, the UN has a resolution called 181 to divide Palestine to 2 different countries, the Jews and the Arabs. So what do we get? We get the upper Galilee. We get some of the area of Haifa, along the coast, and the Negev, which is also very important for us because back in those days, we're already starting to do some agriculture there. And what do the Arabs get? They get also part of the upper Galilee, the center of Israel, even a tiny place at Jaffa, and down below too. Now, no need to be a specialist to understand the problems here. If you take a look, this plan is basically bits and pieces that are somehow trying to put together. How do we get here from one place to another? How will the Arabs cross from one place to another? And what about this? The reason why it's a different color, Jerusalem, according to this plan, was supposed to be an international zone. What does that mean even? And what about Jaffa? Jaffa is a small, tiny place that was supposed to go to the Arabs, but it's all surrounded by Jews. This doesn't make any sense. So what was the total count? 33 were in favor, 13 were against, and 10 countries abstained. That means the resolution was accepted, and at that moment, they decided the British mandate on Israel will end. What were the reactions to this resolution? Ben Gurion, the Jewish representative, wasn't so happy with it, but this is what we get after 2,000 years that we don't have a country, we'll accept it. On the other hand, this guy, Jamal el-Husseini, he was the head of the committee to the UN, and he said, these lines that you drew on the map will be lines of blood and fire, meaning he totally rejected it. This was a great miracle because if they were to agree and we agreed, that'll be the end of it. This is what we would get as the state of Israel. Lucky for us, they rejected it. And at that moment, people went out to the streets and they were dancing and they were happy. This was the beginning of Geulah, of redemption. But that didn't last too long because obviously the Arabs will be against it. The next day, November 30th, there was a first attack on Israeli bus traveling from Netanya. 7 people were killed, 12 were severely injured. Among those who were killed was a young girl that was on her way to her wedding. And from the beginning of December till March 1948 was the first stage of war, when the Arabs actually realized that the best thing, and instead of fighting in the cities, let's try and fight the Jews on the roads, time after time after time. But March was the worst. March 19th, 1948, this person, Austin Warren, the American ambassador to the UN, he got on stage and said the following: "My government believes that a temporary trustship for Palestine should be established under the Trustship Council of the United Nations to maintain the peace and to afford the Jews and the Arabs of Palestine who must live together." What does that mean? He is trying to reverse the decision that the Jews will get their own state. That was terrible. But then it became even worse. March 27th, 1948, there was a convoy up north called the Yechiam convoy. Here you can see a small Arab cemetery. Arabs were waiting there and they ambushed them. 46 people were murdered. That same day, another convoy to a place called Nebi Daniel in Gush Etzion, not far from Jerusalem, also ambushed, 15 casualties. A few days later, March 31st, another convoy. When they left a small place called Hulda on the way to Jerusalem, they got stuck in the mud. The Arabs in that area saw them and they ambushed them. 22 people were killed. That led to a total change. The Jewish leaders decided that instead of trying to get with convoys to all these isolated places, and the Arabs will keep attacking us, we'll be like sitting ducks, how about we go out there and attack them first? And that's what we did. Now, May 1948, the month of the declaration. The British mandate is about to end very soon. The British decided to leave the night of May 15th. That was Friday night. For us, Shabbat, we will not declare independence on Shabbat. So what do? Now is what I call the major countdown. May 8th, Moshe Sharet was sent to talk to George Marshall, the Secretary of State. Marshall warned Moshe Sharet that this is not the right time for the declaration. You will be attacked and we will not support you. Moshe Sharet describes that he had a terrible feeling at the end of that meeting, and then he returns to Tel Aviv. The next day, May 10th, Golda Meir was sent to meet with this person, King Abdullah of Jordan. She met him already once on November. He promised her he's going to be an ally. He said we have the same interest here, and she wanted to meet him again now to see what his reaction is. He refused to take the risk, and he said if you come at your own risk. She describes how she had to dress up like an Arab, cross the border in the middle of the night, meet him at some person that he knew. But then she said she realized when she spoke to him that he is not in favor of Israel. The next day, he already sent his troops to take over Gush Etzion. The next day, May 11th, Moshe Sharet lands in Israel, rushes to Ben Gurion, tells him about his meeting with Marshall and says, to my opinion, he is right. We should actually postpone it. Ben Gurion said, no way. Now it's interesting that 3 weeks already before the declaration, there was already a draft of the Declaration of Independence. This person you see here, I got this picture from his son. His name is Mordechai Beham. He was a lawyer. Him and another person, Rabbi Harry Davidovich, originally from the States, then he lived in Tel Aviv. Both people wrote the first draft of the Declaration of Independence. Thursday, May 13th, the committee that was actually in charge of the Declaration of Independence didn't like first draft, and they asked Moshe Sharet to write a new one. Moshe Sharet does that, and at night when Ben Gurion takes it home, he does his final changes. And now finally, guys, the big day has arrived. Friday, May 14th, everybody is crowded out here. You could just imagine the excitement of the people, and let's walk in and see what Ben Gurion has to say.
היום הזה, ערב שבת, אייר תש"ח 14 במאי 1948, אנו מכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל. היא מדינת ישראל.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I don't want to wait too long. I want to see you Bezrat Hashem, Bezot Hashana, this year, all of you, B'Yerushalayim HaBenuyah. Thank you so much.